to Under the Crossbones. I'm your host, Nick Hoffman. It is so nice to have you here. Thank you so much for listening. I hope those of you that tuned in to our previous show, episode 205, had a good time. I certainly did. And I've got another one lined up for you now, so that's good. Sound quality were some issues. I'm sure there's issues on sponsorship, things like that, that I've screwed up one way or another. And I told you to expect mistakes. My gosh, I promised mistakes. I gave you mistakes, so that's good. This is episode 206, and I found, of course, now some of you see this coming. Fun fact about the number 206: there are 206 bones in the human body. But just so you know, that's not a hard, fast rule like most facts. Babies are born with well over 300 bones, but some of the bones fuse together, and so it whittles its way down to 206. And then with some people, they're born with extra bones, like a 13th rib. It's funny, 13th rib reminds me, McRib season. I believe I've had a 13th rib. I think I've had more than a few of those sandwiches. But there you go. Anyway, 206, 206 bones, human body. Nailed it. Anyway, what else have we got? I'd love to give you some tidbits about comedy I'm doing here or there. But right now, I'm not touring a lot. Here's the difference between your previous host, who's a touring comedian, Phil Johnson, excellent guy, very funny man. Doesn't have kids. I've got kids. So that, I'm not saying the kids hold you back. I'm saying kids make me want to stay home. I like them. They're all right. I like both of them. I'd say equally. I'd say mostly that's true most of the time. But if there's any parents listening, sometimes you just like one more than the other for a few minutes. Just saying. But that's the challenge of being a human, right? Is attempting to be consistent, attempting to be the best person you can be at all times, and you're gonna fumble. And I'm just saying, my daughter didn't want to go to school today. She said she doesn't want to go to school. She's 6. She said she didn't want to go. It was the first we heard about it. She came home Friday, had a great time all weekend long. We talked about things. School never came up, and this morning, she just she hates it there, doesn't want to go there. So as I said, those of you that are parents, you get it. You know what I'm talking about. It's the insanity that comes with having kids. But I love her, and I love my son. I love them both. And she went to school. She handled it. Brave face. I'm positive when I pick her up today, she's going to be in good spirits and looking forward to the next day. Or this is the beginning of a very horrible pattern, and she'll never go back to school again, and our lives have changed dramatically. I don't think that's the case. But, hey, I'm enjoying doing this podcast, and I got some lovely feedback from a number of you, both on Facebook. Languages are hard, English being one of them. On Facebook, got a few notes from folks saying they enjoyed the show or that they were looking forward to it. They were happy it was back. Got an email here or there. Phil sent me a note, said he was entertained. So if Phil's mildly happy, that's where I'm starting. That makes me happy. And I've already got 2 more interviews lined up after today's. So we're rolling, folks. We're going to have this show for a while. Now, I know that there's... Hold on. Let's see. We'll check the editing. I know that there's... links that you can click on our webpage. If you click on the Amazon banner, it'll take you to Amazon. Then you buy something crazy. It's delivered in a day because they've got people just chained to various chairs and tables in the Amazon Center just waiting for you to order. But here's the good news. In spite of the suffering, we get a few pennies on the dollar when you order something having left from our show to go to Amazon. So if you could do that, that'd be great. We'd sure appreciate it very much. Secondly, keep listening. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please do. We're able to keep the show going because people listen. and it makes it fun for us, and we'll try to make it fun for you. Hey, on today's show, kind of a fun treat. I've seen the band from which this gentleman comes play at Disneyland a bunch of times, just a bunch of times. They're always a joy. And I hadn't realized until I met a friend of this gentleman's that we had a connection. And so then through a friend of a friend, I connected with this gentleman, and we started chatting, and then we set up an interview. So today's guest is Dan Franklin. He's a member of the band the Skullduggers. And what's great about the Skullduggers is that they get to represent Sea of Thieves, which is a great game, a computer game that you can play as a pirate. And they represent them at various gamer cons and stuff like that. So that's kind of fun. He's also a member of the Bootstrappers, which is the band name that plays at Disneyland and sings shanties and entertains the folks around New Orleans Square and there on Tom Sawyer's Island. So that's fun. Dan Franklin has also played with Slash and Leann Rimes. He's a filmmaker and a heck of a guy. So please enjoy episode number 206 with Dan Franklin. Here's the interview. Enjoy. Dan Franklin, thanks so much for being on the show. How you doing?
I am doing great. It is a lovely Friday morning here in Corona. I got my coffee and I'm ready to go.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. So, as you are completely aware of, because I told you just before all this, this is a pirate podcast, and so we have come together because of your connection to the pirate community. So let's start there. Can you tell me about your pirate background?
I can tell you that it is not something that I ever envisioned happening to me. However, it has been an absolutely wild ride, and I wouldn't trade it for the world.
So did it start with you playing with the guys there at Disneyland?
Well, yeah, it did. I mean, originally it all started with my brother telling me in high school that if I got into music that I would get chicks. And so I thought that was a great idea. And so I started getting into music, and then music started getting into me and just sort of has pulled me along in my entire career, just from opportunity to opportunity. You know, I've kind of always lived by the, you just say yes to everything kind of policy.
Like improv.
Well, yes, exactly. We yes and our way through life.
And we see how good most improv goes.
Well, hopefully my career goes a little better than that.
One would hope. So tell the audience to the band to which I'm referring to.
Well, I'm referring to the world famous Bootstrappers at Disneyland. And in 2006, I had played some folk and I had played some bluegrass, but I'd never really played any sea shanties apart from the few that you do on an Irish gig, Drunken Sailor, All for Me Grog. And then, through a mutual friend at Disneyland, was given this opportunity to audition, and then I started leading one of the bands in the Bootstrappers at Disneyland, and we've been there for 13 years now.
Now, do they? I know they rotate some players, don't they?
Oh, quite a few. And we've had people come and go over the years, but it's a really strong group. And through my friend Tim Reeder, he brought in a lot of the songs that we do there. Although we've all brought in other tunes that we've found, scouring the internet. We've done some Stan Rogers tunes, some Sligo Rags tunes. Stan Hugel was a great resource for us. Now, I don't know if you're familiar with his book, but Stan Hugel kind of wrote the Bible on sea shanties.
I will look that up.
Yep.
Hugel.
Yeah. And then, are you familiar with Stan Rogers?
I've heard the name.
Now Stan was he unfortunately died in a plane accident, but Stan was uh, he was born in the wrong century, basically. And he was from Nova Scotia, and he wrote all these beautiful songs that sound like they should have been written 200 years ago.
Perfect.
And you'd like Northwest Passage, Athens Queen. Just go check them out. You'll really dig those tunes.
I will do it for sure. Now, I know a lot of shanties have a bit of humor. Did his have a bit of humor as well?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, the tune, The Wreck of the Athens Queen, is all about this group of scavengers that just waits around at this really treacherous part of the ocean where ships are prone to crash. And they just get really drunk and wait for the ship to crash, and then they just go raid it. And, it talks about bringing home, 200 chickens and a leather couch of green. And it's this guy coming up with a cow from below decks, and he says, "You'll never get that home." But he says, "I've always fancied fresh cream in me tea."
Again, he didn't plan on that cow, but
no,
he just said yes to it when it was there.
Well, what are you going to do?
Exactly. Oh, that's awesome. Now, with the Bootstrappers, do you guys get a bit of rehearsal time, or?
Very little. Usually, when we want to bring in a new song, someone will bring it in, and they'll chart it out really quick. Which for that band is usually a head chart. For that band is usually just a lyric sheet with chords written over the words. But sometimes there's dots, and then we'll kind of work it up on our breaks, and if we all like it, we'll go try it out on the crowd.
That's great. How long is your shift when you do a bit with them?
Well, it's an 8-hour day with a 1-hour lunch, and we do 7 sets in that.
Gotcha. Wow. Every time I've heard the Bootstrappers, because now the audience should know we've never, as far as we know, met to face,
right.
Which when I thought about saying that, I realized it sounds like I'm about to do a magic trick. Which I think sleight of hand is way underutilized in podcasts. I'll show you how. Watch this. Watch. Okay, pick a card.
Okay, I got it.
Okay, now look at your card. Make sure you know what it is.
I got it.
Okay, slide it back in here.
Okay, anywhere?
Yeah, anywhere's fine.
Okay, I'll go right there.
Okay, not my first choice, but anyway, so let me shuffle these up a little bit, and then I'm gonna flip a few cards, and then is that your card?
How did you do that?
See,
wow.
People don't, and if I meet people on the street, they're going to ask for that. I'm going to say no, only on the podcast.
Yep, you got to get on the show.
Yeah. Otherwise, you can't have the magic. So, which of course now when I say that, we've never met. Now I may have seen you perform because I go to Disneyland with some frequency, and I seek out the Bootstrappers. So it could have been you were there that day.
It's very possible, as long as you weren't one of those obnoxious people that walks up to us and goes, "Arr!"
No, I have more dignity as both a pirate and a Disney fan.
Yeah, that's the worst, and we get a lot of that, and we get a lot of people that want to come up to us and tell us pirate jokes. So let me tell you, don't walk up to a band, no, not just a pirate band, any band, and tell them a joke about what kind of music they're doing, because they have heard it. Not only have they already heard it, they don't think it's funny.
Right. But, for that person, they've been carrying it around, and they're thinking, when will I ever get a chance? Oh, my God, here's my opportunity. And boom. And then they lay it on you.
Well, it's all about knowing your audience, And
true.
If I walked up to Bill Burr or Kyle Kinane, I wouldn't try to go toe-to-toe with them in comedy.
Well, it's not like the person's walking up and saying, "Hey, let me jump in and play a shanty for you."
Well, we do get that. We do get that. And in fact, wow, this was amazing. The other day, we had someone come up to the band and they just after a song, they just decided it was their turn. They walked up to the band, turned around, faced the audience, and launched into a 5-minute limerick.
Oh my God.
And we just stood there and let him finish because we didn't know what
Wow.
to do.
And this is the time where you think, wow, Disneyland needs to get more security.
He was harmless. He was harmless, and he was having a great time. So,
That's good.
it was just a very strange choice.
Sure. And I guess on the one hand, I people don't take advantage of doing something outside the box that often. And
Right.
or maybe that guy does it always.
I don't think he's ever seen the box. He's nowhere near any box whatsoever.
It's better than that time he was on the bus there in LA, and when the driver took a smoke break, he just started driving the bus around.
Yeah, boy, that would be awkward, wouldn't it?
Because they wouldn't know the route. They wouldn't know.
Yeah, there are certainly careers where amateurs don't walk up and try to do it.
Right.
Hey,
Right.
hey, guy who operates the nuclear power plant, can I just push some buttons?
Let me just step in here. This button looks fun. Nice.
So yeah, besides the Bootstrappers, we also have a band that we play in outside of the park.
And it is called?
That is called the Skullduggers.
Nice.
And you can find that band online, Facebook or Instagram or however you go online. And that's been another band where we can get a little bit more experimental with tunes in that band and get a little bit edgier.
That's fun.
Kind of bring back in some of the original lyrics of the tunes that we have toned down for our theme park work.
Right. It's funny. I think there are a lot of people that have heard some sea shanties, but they've heard clean sea shanties.
Yes.
And they go, oh, well, this must be what all sea shanties are like. And then I had the experience of once my dad, who is known to sing a bit, started singing some little sea shanty. And he got into lyrics that I'm like, I didn't even know he said that stuff. But it makes sense. You got a bunch of sailors, without anybody judging them, and they're on the sea. Of course, they're going to sing songs that are inappropriate.
Yes, and I'm sure that they're hard up. It's basically prison on water.
and who's to judge, right?
Certainly not I.
Exactly. Now, with the Skullduggers, you guys ended up with a connection with the game Sea of Thieves, did you not?
Yes, absolutely, which is a fantastic game. And it's developed by these guys in the UK. They have a company called Rare. And they had some other hits in the 90s like Donkey Kong Country and Banjo-Kazooie. But Sea of Thieves is an open world pirate game. It's super fun. And we were fortunate enough to kind of climb on board with them to go around the world, to their various video game conventions and sort of, entertain guests at their booth.
Oh, that's fun. So they don't have your music in the game. It's just they used you as a fun way to bring people to their booth.
Yes. Now, there has been talk of, getting us over to England and maybe doing something more with that, but our fingers are crossed. But, as of now, there is an achievement that you can unlock in the game where if you get 5 pirates to play music together at the same time, you unlock the Skulldugger achievement.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so at least we've got that going for us.
Now, I don't know why I made this connection, but if you are in front of their booth to draw people, you are basically the pirate musical version of a hot chick in a bikini.
It's true. We're like pirate booth babes.
Booth Babes could be your next band name.
Yeah.
That's great.
I like that. But I think we attract a very different clientele than a booth babe.
You'd be surprised, actually. I'm guessing you draw almost the exact same client.
Well, I got to tell you, some of these video game conventions are absolutely wild. There's millions of people that attend these things, and they love pirates.
Sure.
I never knew that there was such a market for all things pirate related. then when you go to these places, like they've taken us to Germany and Brazil, Canada, everywhere that we go, it's just these fans just eat it up.
That is awesome. It's funny. Each year, being a guy that's a fan of pirate stuff, I happen to take notice of the lists that come out following Halloween when they talk, or just leading up to it, and they talk about the most popular Halloween costumes. And year after year after year, pirates make within the top 3. And I mean, part of it is because, like the hobo or the ghost, you can probably make a pirate costume with stuff you have around the house.
Right. Now, you're not talking about just branded things like Jack Sparrow.
No, I'm talking about when they just say costumes that kids select.
Oh, okay.
They mean, these are the list. And, some years when something like, Harry Potter comes out, and so that starts to make the list more than obviously it had previously. Right. And when Pirates of the Caribbean came out, obviously there was an uptick in that sort of thing as well. But even without those things, pirates often make near the top. And I think part of that is, like I said, underachievers looking for something to wear, and it was easy to find something around the house. Mm-hmm. But I think B, and number 2, and also, and I'm just going to throw in a lot of things that connect these things together. I think it's just, there's something about pirates that appeal to people that allows them to be like the guy that stood in front of you outside the box for a little bit, and in a way that's roguish and adventurous.
Yeah. Huh. I'm good with it.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you get what I'm saying. I think that's what.
Sure.
I think that's why when you're at a convention like that, one of the reasons why there's so much appeal is, it's fun to be a pirate.
It's dangerous, which is funny because so many people that market pirate related things want to take all the danger out of it. You see pirate things marketed to children. Pirates murdered and raped and stole and
sure, but just in their defense, during the time that pirates were pirates, almost every job you had that included stuff like it was dangerous and problematic, and the Royal Navy was. Everybody got beat on the ship. It's why pirates had an appeal. They're like, wait, I could do this without having a jerk for a boss. So,
or they could be privateers and get the best of both worlds.
Exactly. Well, and of course, as history has shown, once someone made it to the ranks of privateer, it was rarely a small push to just cross that line. And
yes,
if you're good at doing what you're doing, it seems like, if I just fudge the line a little, I can do this more.
Yeah, and not have to give anyone a cut of it.
Yeah. Now, speaking of other pirates that you've been connected to or worked with, I noticed in your information you played with Slash.
I certainly did. That just kind of goes back to my just say yes, kind of thing.
Sure.
That was me saying yes to playing in a breast cancer benefit that I didn't know that he was going to be involved in, and I've played with quite a few people by just kind of being in the right place at the right time.
Sure.
And actually, Slash ended up kind of borrowing some of my gear as well because I think he's kind of accustomed to gear being there when he needs it.
Right. Well, and like
totally fine with that.
Yeah, well, and like good pirates, he probably thought, if I don't have what I need, I'll get it where I get there.
Yes, exactly. Now that was not pirate music, but
it's funny. I made that connection partly because I remember listening to an interview with Mark and Brian, and they were interviewing David Lee Roth, and who's always a great interview. He's fun to hear. He's going to say something crazy.
Yes, he's nuts.
Yeah, and this was no exception. They had said, Dave, have you always wanted to play rock and roll? And in his quintessential David Lee Roth way, he said, and I won't do an impression here, although in most cases I probably would have tried. We'll try it. I've always known from a very young age exactly what I wanted to do with my life. I wanted to be a pirate. And I thought rock and roll was the fastest way to get there. It was, it was great.
Yeah, that's really great.
That's Dave. So now you've been working on a film. Can you tell me a little bit about what you've been doing?
I'm working on a couple films, as well as recording my next album.
Exciting.
Now, my next album, I don't know this to be true, but it probably won't include any pirate music. Although my album, The Best Ride of Your Life, does have a sea shanty on it.
Look at that.
Yes. But yeah, the films that I'm working on are both indie features that I have been involved in also producing, as well as acting in and doing the music for. One is called The Haunted Man, and the other is called Mantra.
And what are they about?
They're both kind of thrillers, and The Haunted Man is a little bit more of a popcorn, kind of feel-good thriller. It's almost like if you made a movie out of a WB show, but a little bit more, a little bit more edge and a little bit more, kind of wholesomeness to it. It's a very fun film. It's about a couple of ghost hunters that are kind of out of the game, and they get sucked back into it by this guy, and it's kind of a Scooby Gang movie.
Nice.
And then Mantra is a psychological thriller about a kind of a dark psychiatrist that is kind of manipulating his patient. And I don't want to give away too much of it, but both of those films are going to be done here within the few months, and going to be hitting out at the festival circuit, and then hopefully distributed larger than that.
That is very exciting.
It is indeed.
Now, when you say a couple of ghost hunters, like folks that you would see on a reality show type thing,
kind of similar actually. But in the Haunted Man, Mark and Leo are their names, and they were kind of the biggest ghost hunters around because they actually caught a full-figured apparition on video. And so, kind of among paranormal circles, they were celebrities.
It's funny. When I Google search for naughty images, it's always full-figured apparition. Yeah.
You're into the no feet thing?
Well, as long as there's a full figure, that's all that I care about. And let me just say that if I search my memory and go back far enough, I don't think I've ever said apparition.
Oh, come on.
No, I don't. There's some words that I would say or not say, but that I would choose not to say if I thought I'm not going to say this right or I'm not sure how it's spelled. And I mentioned this on the last interview that I had with someone. I would avoid saying facetious because I was not entirely sure how that was spelled for a long time.
Well, that's a difficult spell.
Right. And apparition, I've always thought, while I think I may have heard it on Ghostbusters, I don't think I was totally clear on exactly how the parts of that went together. I think I'd give it a whack now in terms of spelling, but are you
going to lose your G rating for giving it a whack?
No, and it's funny. I realized on the last when you post these little podcasts, you have to say if you're clean or not. And apparently, there've been enough episodes of this show that have had dirty words, so it doesn't play in India. Apparently, that's part of the rule.
Oh.
And in the last show, I realized I had said HELL, and I thought, I wonder if I have to put this as clean or not. I went with not. I don't want to offend anybody.
I don't think that hell pushes you over the top.
And now this episode doesn't go out there either.
I really no. I think that it depends on the context.
Oh, okay.
It depends on how that word is used, because that word is used in church.
Oh, true. That would be context right there.
Yeah, I don't think you need to worry about that.
I'm going to tell a tale out of school here. My daughter was talking to her grandma and had told her that that we curse sometimes here at the house. Mm-hmm. And her grandmother said, "Well, like what? Can you give me an example?" And she said that my wife had said that was an effing great burrito. And although she didn't just say effing. And that's true. I could have confirmed that we have said that about a burrito many a time. So context is everything.
Yeah, well, burritos are everything.
I think if you're talking about burritos and you use the F word, I don't even think that's officially cussing.
I think you're right.
Right,
but still, we won't do it on your show here, just in case.
Just in case. So, well, perfect. Hey, so when's how often can people catch you doing your pirate thing?
Well, the Bootstrappers are at the park from Monday to Friday every week.
You guys are off on weekends?
Yes, currently off on weekends, and currently I am there on Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays. Though that changes from week to week, so
gotcha.
You never know who you're going to get.
Right. And then you said the films are coming out possibly in a few months.
That's the plan. They're kind of in the final stages, but they get into that space where you're like, let's just keep tweaking, let's just keep fixing this, and eventually you have to let go of your baby, but we're not ready yet.
Right. Instantly, if it's in real parenting, if you're carrying a baby, they frown upon you ever letting it go. Like if you just drop it,
it's true.
It's not considered a sign of emotional maturity.
Right. And apparently shaking it is bad too.
It's so bad there's a syndrome.
Yes.
Right. That's terrible.
Don't you do that.
All right. Well, Dan, I have had a good time talking to you. I hope you have had a good time as well.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me on.
No, thanks for doing the show. And now if folks want to find out about your various and sundry activities, where's the best places to find you?
Well, you can just search for Dan Franklin on Facebook. You can go to danfranklinmusic.com. You can send your Instagram over to The Real Dan Franklin. Or just send me a carrier pigeon. They know where to go.
And the Skullduggers, do they take gig requests? Is that the kind of band the Skullduggers is?
You can book the Skullduggers anytime you'd like.
Fantastic. I can't. I'm Poe, but somebody can, and that's good. All right, Dan. Thanks so much. We'll talk to you again soon.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you, sir. You too.
Cheers.
And that was our interview with Dan Franklin. I told you it would be fun. Fun guy. Loved him. Enjoyed him. Hopefully I'll run into him again next time I'm over at the Mouse and get to hear him with his group, which would be fun. Folks, I'm going to do my level best to find you great folks to interview and enjoy. And I hope that you'll keep coming back because I'll keep putting them out there and getting them ready for you. We can be found on a number of places. Make sure you tell your friends how much fun you have listening to this podcast. And I really appreciate you. Hey, folks, remember that the best treasure in life is friends and family and laughter. And I want you to go out and get you some. All right? So do your best to be a good person. And we'll see you next time here on Under the Crossbones. Thanks a lot. I'm Nick Hoffman.